Hi, everyone. So we are live, Clients First Networking Group. We're based out of San Diego, but not everyone is located in San Diego. So if you're looking to join a networking group, feel free to reach out to one of us on this platform. Some of us have numbers attached. Some of us, you can probably Google our names and find us. Let's go around real fast and introduce ourselves. Garrett, do you want to go first?
Sure. My name is Garrison Fletcher. I'm a graphic designer. I specialize in corporate identities and branding and assisting my clients in creating a message that gets their point across to their potential clients.
Christine?
Hey, Christine Walker. Legal Shield. We have legal services and identity theft protection.
Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff Crawl, Fifth Power Consulting. I help business owners build their ideal business so that they have time, freedom to live their ideal life.
Dave?
Dave Christador, No Pure. I help people in distressed real estate situations get out of them.
And my name is Vinny, real estate in San Diego County. If you're looking to buy or sell or invest in real estate, feel free to reach out to myself or one of our team members at the Enriquez Group. Today we have Garrison Fletcher, a graphic designer. He's going to walk us through kind of in more detail of what he does and kind of give us a presentation of how he can best serve us and also what kind of tidbits we can take away for our own design needs. Ready to get going? Garrison?
Great. Let's get started.
You want to share your screen?
Sure. All right, hopefully that works for everybody because now all I can see is myself, so that's great. So hi everybody, my name is Garrison Fletcher. A little bit about myself. I love to snow ski, as you can see. Sailing has always been a hobby of mine, as well as the ship in the world. I literally took a trip around the world, so I love to travel. Been around the world literally 100 days, 10 countries. The last is a book, The 4 Agreements. I really enjoy personal growth and learning more about myself and others around me. I'm going to give you a little bit of background of what graphic design is, what I do, some samples, some things that I've seen or that I've done for clients, and we'll get right to it. So hopefully we'll have time and it won't feel too rushed or anything. So a little bit about me. I'm a graphic designer. I've been doing this for about 28 years, almost 30 years. I'm a third-generation native San Diegan, and I create logos, brochures, just about anything on the print side of things is my specialty. So I'm really good at working with clients. What makes me unique sort of thing and different is I have a degree in industrial organizational psychology. So some people say, what is that and why does that help? Well, first off, it's a background in psychology. So the way it helps me is I get into the mindset of my clients by asking a lot of really, really great questions that they don't necessarily know that they need to know in order to help me help them so that I can create marketing materials that work for them. And how do I do this is I really listen to my clients. I ask them a lot of questions and I really engage them in the discussion and what it looks like. So let's talk a little bit about branding. So branding is really a corporate identity. It could be a logo. It could be basically, depends on who you talk to. Branding is anything that a client will see in the course of doing, see and or hear or perceive of you and your company. So some things to factor when you're working on a logo is, what size is it going to be? How's it going to be used? Is it going to be embroidered? Is it just going to be in black and white? Is it going to be printed on promotional products? Things of that nature. So it's all about seeing what those pieces are. So here's an example of a before and after logo. I had a client that came to me and they wanted to hire me to work on their whole branding piece. So they came to me with this logo that they had created on the left. And as you can see, the person in white is actually in a wheelchair. They work specifically helping disabled people get jobs and how that could work. So they're advocates for the work, helping employers to see how easy it is to really hire somebody that's disabled. So what I did is I did some research. I cleaned up the graphic a little, as you can see, and I actually went onto the web and I found out that there is a specific color blue for handicapped blue, right? So the handicap signs you see, it's a specific color, it's not random. So I took that and I've created the person in the wheelchair in that handicap blue, as well as the name Strategic Employment Solutions, so that that's representative of who they are and what they do. You can also see I increased the font size and things of that nature just to make it more readable. And as you can see, when it gets even smaller as the lower one, you can still read everything sharp. So that's really important to do in working with the logo. So here's another example of a logo that I created from scratch. A gentleman came to me. He was a mobile chiropractor, was just starting out, didn't have a bus, didn't have anything. He had this idea. So we created this logo for him, Chiro Bus, and you can see the spine in the center. And I followed that up with business cards, and then front and back of the business cards. You can see the little guy on the back. It's just kind of a cartoon of him. He's a gentleman with a flat top, so we modified that for him so that you could see him. He comes to you. Then we also helped him with all the design of the layout for his bus, so you can see that on the right. A couple more before and afters. So on the left side, this is a social media company, and I assisted her with a brand new logo. You can see the J's for Juice Media. She wanted something because she says she can squeeze and blend the juice out of most any situation and help their clients. So we created somewhat of a blender, if you will, to assist her with that. And I think the transformation is, pretty night and day for her. Here's another sample of a before and after. I really like them. I think they give a lot of punch and some example of what I do. So on the left, you have the original flyer. Somewhat simple, it's there, Money 101. Yes, but what is that, right? So are you in need? Is it a workshop? Is it a flyer? Do you have to read the whole thing? On the right side, I took basically the same information and I said, here's what it is. It's all about building wealth, planning for retirement, and it's really easy to see. My philosophy with design is I want somebody to rule themselves in or out. So if they see a message, I want them to go, yes, that's for me, or no, that's for me. I don't want somebody to ever have to go, well, I don't know what that is. I don't know what this is talking about. I want them to have a clear message of what that is. The other piece that's notable about this is she kept printing out new ones because there was a date on the left side. You can see the date, July 23rd. Well, she actually had a feature on her website where she had a calendar. So what I did is I updated the flyer on the bottom to put the address of where her events calendar is on her website. So she never has to change this flyer. It's always up to date, provided she does that with that. Another example of a flyer, alternative dwelling units started becoming pretty popular. And this gentleman was going to speak to a real estate group. And so he had created this flyer that's on the left. Unfortunately, although there's 10 pieces or 10 items, it's hard to really tell what they are without reading the whole thing. And most people don't want to read all that much information. So I created some titles for them, what all the sections are. And as you can see on the right, we did that. Now, he was also going there, and basically this flyer was telling all the problems with things and none of the solutions. So what I did is after creating the back side of it and the front side of it and asking him some questions, we created what now you see on the right side is the back. So now it tells all the benefits of working with his company. Just seemed like an add-on. It's one of the things when my clients come to me, they don't really know what they want necessarily. They have an idea, and it's my job to really help them through that with that discovery process. Here's another example of before and after. Across the top is the before, below is the after. The things that I point out here are on the right side, you can see where it's really difficult to read the page numbers. Sometimes they're really small. Also, the descriptions of the items. So what I did is I created a whole different title treatment. So you can see it's reversed out in a color. And then notice the bottom. I pulled in an entire thing. They had no web address. They had no information about that. If somebody copied a page and wanted to rip that out, there's no way to get a hold of who they are and what the company was. And the other little detail I put in there is, if you notice, there's a Nautilus shell on the cover. So I took that Nautilus shell and did a graphic of that at the base with the footer. It's kind of the little extra details that, really can make night and day. The other thing with this is she was printing a number of programs, and she actually catalogs, and she lives in Hawaii. I was able to save her over $1,700 by using my vendor as opposed to hers, which she loved. And it was a great win for her. And that even was cheaper. Even with that, I was able to ship them to Hawaii for her without a problem. So here's a sample of before and after of a brochure. So you can see the difference. On the left side is the two sides of the brochure. You just see it just somewhat convoluted. The spacing in between columns and things of that nature just didn't feel right. So on the right side, I just put the information into better categories, created some titles for it at the top, things of that nature. The other thing that I did with this is was kind of how I really help with clients. So she basically came and said, I really just want a price list. That's all I want. That's all I need. And I said, okay, great. However, so I went through and I was really kind of adamant that she really needed to have some more information about her, who she was, what she did, things of that nature. She kind of pushed back on that a little bit because she says, where I'm going to be handing these out is at trade shows and they've already seen my presentation. I said, that's great. However, I think you're missing an opportunity. So stick with me for a minute. So what I did is I educated her and I said, even though these people might have seen you at the event that you spoke at, but what happens when you get this brochure home and it's on your coffee table or it's on your dinner table or it's on your counter and now your husband, spouse, wife, friend, a neighbor comes by for coffee and they're like, oh my gosh, what's that? And they see, oh, you're working on an estate plan for your, or filing a trademark. They're like, oh, I'm interested in that too. They don't have any clue on who you are. So by having the information in here makes it a multi-purpose use of a project for them. So let's talk about some of the design fails on why you should really work with a graphic designer. So here's a couple examples. On the upper left, Bronco County, and it was probably supposed to say playoffs, right? No, one would guess. However, because of the placement and somebody didn't take into account that a window or a box is going to be over the top, now we really see Bronco County layoffs, right? Or how about the pencils? Too cool to do drugs. However, based on, you sharpen it and sharpen it, and it keeps going in. And what message are you really sending? And the one on the right, it gets me. I mean, which yellow can are you grabbing for in a pinch, and could you be making a mistake? There's a couple more. So I didn't know that McDonald's started selling mice, which I thought was kind of interesting. However, you could buy a 10-pound bag. It's a joke, of course, but these are all just kind of fails. If you look at Mama's Baking, it's a great picture. Depends on what you make that out to be, and the fireplace just seems to be in an odd position, much less the Catholic Church logo. I don't need to go there. Now, the two on the bottom I think is important. That brings up my background in psychology. When you look at this, you see a switch, right? So where they're handing you on the left is the switch they're handing you to, turn on the switch, if you will. But subconsciously, what you're looking at is the switch is currently facing on the left one, is currently facing where their logo is. So they're really telling you, let's switch away from Boost Mobile. So that's what they've done on the right. It's the switch is flipped, and now it's really going away from Boost Mobile instead of towards Boost Mobile. So just a little kind of crazy in marketing. So what should everybody have in this digital age? I mean, things are going much more online as opposed to print material, although I certainly think print material is still going to be around and in different fashions. So everybody should have a good version of their logo, whether that's, hopefully they'll have a vector graphic of it. If they're working with a graphic designer, that's what they're going to want. They'll give their fonts and their logo and their color schemes and things of that nature. So everybody should have that. You should have a digital business card, both digital and printed. You should have letterhead, digital and printed. I've had many clients recently come to me and say, I want to do a letterhead and I want to send a letter to my clients, but I don't want to print out the letterhead and then put it back to the printer and then have to scan it to then send it to my client. So we can create a letterhead that's digital as a watermark within Word, and then you can type in your letter, save the file as a PDF, things of that nature. So some other things, email signature would be great. And I really suggest nowadays, there's a lot of people going towards now printed note cards that you can do a handwritten note on them, and envelopes. So, or postcards, so you can get something in the mail is a really great thing. So my goal with helping my clients is really to ensure that they get a clear and consistent message. I educate them on what that hook could be, like you saw with the market or the Money 101. Gave some more information about what that is so they can see that at the beginning and not wonder and have to read all about it. I save them money with printing wherever possible. And I teach them how they can use their items to serve multiple purposes, like I mentioned with the brochure for the attorney. What I hear my clients say often is, you didn't give me what I asked for. Thank you for helping me and educating me. I get that time and time again. It's a little bit of a push and pull sort of thing. However, at the end, they're really grateful. So the other thing I hear a lot is, I've learned so much about my company that I didn't even know that I needed to know. And thank you so much. It was well worth the time. So things to do, what to listen for. If you're out there, or if you're working with somebody, or maybe you're helping them with some other facet of their business, it's like, hey, I need a logo, or mine's out of date, or I just have a PNG. Is that okay? But this guy's asking me for, something for a banner. Or my office is moving, or I need to get some flyers printed. Do you have any suggestions? And there was that comment on getting the letterhead into a Word document. So what you can say if you run into somebody like that is, hey, I know a guy that's extremely creative, background in psychology, maybe, if you remember that part, and he can help you with your marketing materials. And his printing prices are great. Can I send him an email introduction connecting you with him? That'd be a great way for us to connect. That way we have a circle of contacting, and there's a warm introduction that way. So I wanted to offer, the note cards. I spoke to them briefly, and I really believe that these are coming back in quite a good fashion. Just a handwritten note or a message printed in there. It could be whatever you like. So I wanted to offer this as a service for people if somebody's interested, where I can create it. Send me your logo, send me the text that you'd like, sort of thing, and I'd create some note cards for you and matching envelopes. I'd get them printed for you. And right now you can see the prices. They're, the smaller quantity you do, they're a little bit more expensive. However, you get up to a decent quantity, and it really works out pretty decently for the cost. The artwork setup is normally $60, but for the first 10 people that see this presentation or send me a message, I'd be happy to waive the artwork setup and go from there to help you out in that fashion as well. So let me give you a little design tip that everybody can use when you're working with your own website and in any of your marketing materials, or maybe it's your email address or something of that nature. The title case is really, really helpful. So here's an example where the company is David's Harp Foundation. Now, is it really David Sharp Foundation, or is it David's Harp Foundation? So it's really difficult to see, right? So the actual answer is it's David's Harp Foundation. So you can see when we capitalize the D, the H, and the F, it's really a whole lot easier to read. So I just thought that was a great example and just wanted to give an extra tip, for people. So doing that with your email as well as your web address in any of your marketing materials, on your business cards, things of that nature, will really help your clients be able to read your website or your email address and remember it much, much faster than all lowercase or all uppercase. So remember, my corporate philosophy is I don't care if you did it yourself, as long as it doesn't look like yourself. I really love what I do. I've been doing this 30 years. Make sure that you have the files that you need. I love to give out free advice. My brain just does not shut off. So I really love working with clients. If you have some questions, please feel free to reach out to me or send me an email. Be happy to chat with you and see what we can do. So with that, I turn it back and see what questions people might have, or if I covered pretty well for us.
Perfect. Who wants to get going? Who has some feedback for Garrison? Well, I'll jump in then. The cat has a tongue. On your PowerPoint, the stuff on the left of all the things you do, I thought it would be kind of cool to incorporate it, so every slide kind of goes to another item on your thing. That would have been kind of an easy flow to kind of go along with if you already had it there.
Great, thank you.
I thought it was great information. I mean, especially now that people are going to be more visual on things and choosing companies based on their marketing, because we're kind of at home and we don't know when we'll get back to the everyday next normal, new normal, whatever it'll be. So I think that's really important for people to have their marketing on point.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how I was doing on time. I was going to talk a little bit about backdrops as well. There's a lot of people working from home, doing podcasts from home, things of that nature. And I see time and time again on Zoom calls where somebody just has a sheet in the background and it doesn't even, there's another level of professionalism that could really go there. So we could easily create a backdrop for them that is maybe a step and repeat. So if they're working from home, they could have kids in the background that we don't see them. They could have, whatever, the dog running around, but it just shows a professional appearance. What's happening if they don't have a, more formal home office and a mirror, whatever in the background. So that's something that we could absolutely do as well.
Are you trying to call us out? How dare you, Garrison? I'm joking.
No. And if you flipped if you mirrored your screen, you would be able to read the or is that? Oh no, it is Padres in the back. Okay, just
Yeah, I know. I was gonna put a backdrop for me, and then I was talking to Marissa about it. Marissa's like, you know what? You're a big Padre fan. Let it shine. Go for it. And I was like,
yeah.
oh, okay.
Yours is more of an office space where somebody might be working on a kitchen table, right? That doesn't work. So you could do a backdrop that could also be a visual break for either the room and or cutting glare or getting more light for yourself.
Garrison, on the your offer, should I say, of the handwritten cards, and then a follow up on that too. How would you say somebody today, right now, when we're, this is as close as we're getting to actually shaking hands right now in business, how would you say we could actually utilize that in our own business, and then for people that we refer you to, when I think the first thing they're going to say is, well, when am I ever going to use that right now?
Yeah, I think you'd actually be surprised, because right now everybody's doing email, everybody's doing electronic and things of that nature. And with people working either from their office or getting mail occasionally, or having important mail, to their house, people are going to be opening that. There's two different sizes. I did a smaller size, which is an A2, so it's a little bit smaller. We could do a larger size as well, which looks like a regular greeting card. So imagine on your birthday, you're getting a greeting card. It's an odd shape. It's more square than it is long and skinny. It's not a normal number 9 envelope. And you're going to go, and if it's handwritten on the outside, chances are you're going to open that. And if it's you sending a message, hey, miss you, hope you're doing well, thought of this article, you could put something in there, whatever that looks like to touch them. I just thought it was a great way, and the mail is still going out there, and I think it's going to be much more important to touch people that way with a handwritten note than it is to send another email.
Okay, mail then, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And Garrison's right on with that. The statistics are already up with that, because think about it. Their staff is probably not full staff anymore. So the likelihood of getting those high-end executives and business owners are much easier for them to open their mail versus to look at their emails. So the odds go up with that tremendously. And then same with working at home. You're more likely to go through your mail this time as something to do at home versus when you didn't stay at home to work, you just kind of throw away as much as you can very quickly. And like you said, an actual envelope that's written with a handwritten note on is almost positive. At least it'll get opened, So those statistics are already way up right now.
Yeah,
so I have clients doing that, and it's working well.
Yeah. The other thing is the EDDM, which is every door direct mail. So if you have a business or a service or something that, most of the time those people are at work, but they live in Tierra Santa, or they live in Rancho Bernardo, or they live in some area, and you want to market to them, they're at home. They're at their condos. They're going to see that. It's not going to be thrown out by the wife or the girlfriend or the husband or the maid. They're going to look at it because they're at home. And they're finding out that, there's another condo for sale, or there's a dry cleaner down the street, or there's a whatever that looks like that's going to be opening soon. And now's the time to really get into everybody's, awareness that's in their neighborhood, what restaurants are reopening, things of that nature. It's a really good time to catch people at home.
Yeah. And Garrison, the only feedback I'd say, and I know we're limited on time, but just slow down. That would probably be the easiest thing I would say from everyone. Yeah. But everything else was awesome. Okay. I know your work is super quality. So
great, thank you.
Yeah, I think one of the things to finish off with, the idea you brought up with the colors. When someone's putting together their logo or what they're trying to sell, I mean, the idea of what you're trying to get across and figuring out which color correlates with that idea or with that emotion is something that I don't think a lot of people look into when they're building their brand.
Yeah, when I'm talking to clients, I mean, some of the questions I ask them, they're just like, I don't know how to answer this, So I'll say, what do you want a client to do when you get a business card? And they're like, well, what do you mean? And I said, do you want them to call you? Do you want them to email you? Do you want them just to go to your website? What's your goal, right? And they don't know how to answer that sometimes, you know? However, that question dictates, is the phone number bigger? Do we even put a web address on there? Or do we even put a phone number on there? Do we need an email address? You know, what's most important? Where do we want to drive them to? You know, or the feeling of what do you want them to feel when you give them the business card? I mean, business cards are in all kinds of different weights, all kinds of different finishes. You know, you can get a glossy, you can get a shiny, you can get a 3D card that you hold it on an angle. And when you hold it on an angle, you can see two different messages. There's all kinds of things. So for somebody, you know, I hear often people will be like, well, why do I want to spend $100 on business cards or $200 on business cards? And I'm like, but if you got one sale from that, doesn't that pay for it? And would you like to have one person go, wow, that's a nice card? I mean, if you've ever been in a networking group, you've probably overheard somebody go, wow, that's a great card. Just that, hearing that one time is worth the price of admission for somebody to go, yes. So if the cards cost a little bit more because they're on a super heavy stock, or they're die cut, or there's a, you know, a UV varnish to them in a certain fashion, or a silk feel to it, so it feels like wet, you know, almost a wet feel to it, it's worth it because somebody's going to feel that and remember that, and it's going to have a whole different impression than just a 80-pound card with digits on it.
There was this one card I got. It was like a metal card, I think, and I tried to rip it up because I was like, oh, that was a joke thing. And so I kept on trying. Like I was like, oh, and finally it took me a long time to throw it away, but I kept on looking at it every time I actually was, and I actually remember the person based off of, because I didn't rip it up the first time I received it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Any last pieces of feedback? Anyone else throw anything in?
Awesome. Very informative.
Great.
Jenny, do you want to present next week?
Sure.
I'm throwing in the spot on live. All right, so why don't you give a little insight to what you do, and then we can kind of give you some kind of ideas of what we're thinking about, questions like that.
Sure. So I'm at Stewart Title. We provide title and escrow services, so settlement services during real estate transactions, whether it be resales, refis, new builds, new construction, all of the above. Right now, a lot of what we're doing is helping, you know, real estate agents and lenders get together with their clients and help them with ideas. We have some resources that we can also help with as far as property data, you know, especially if a homeowner wants to look at their current, what's recorded against their property, see if they're in good standing so that they can look at getting a refi, because rates are super low still and at all-time lows for our nation. Yeah, and we've been able to still quickly process everything. We've been recording, we've been essential. We haven't really had any sort of downtime or interruptions from this, which has been nice, other than the fact that, you know, real estate numbers, I think I saw in April from 2019 or 2020 versus 2019, actives, lives, pending and sold were down about 30 to 40% across the board. But home prices were still up 4.5% from the year before. So, of
course.
Yeah. Sorry for the long intro.
Can you talk more about when, so we know someone that's selling or buying a house, how do we get you, how do we refer you to them?
Okay. For next week, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Jenny, do you think that between now and next week you can get a little bit of data to share with us about like what's going on in the market right now?
Absolutely.
Which is, you know, what's available on the market, the inventory out there. Maybe I know that there's a lot of people that are in this period of what's the word I'm looking for? They don't have to pay for a forbearance period right now, but obviously there's probably a list of NODs on the market in San Diego, especially. I don't know if that's if you're seeing increases there or if that's frozen because of that. Jeff, do you know what I'm talking about on that?
Yeah.
or
I know
Vinny.
exactly what you're talking about, so I'll definitely answer that question next week, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What about,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, what would help me maybe is I know and I understand that that people have a choice on picking you versus another vendor that does the same thing, and oftentimes it's a real estate agent, I guess, right, that directs where that goes. But so, what is it that's different and unique that if somebody's like, hey, what could I be listening for? Like, hey, I'm trying to refinance, but I'm having a tough time, or I don't know what the key like hooks to be listening for are that might stand out that put Stewart Title in a different category than others. So I can say, well, you have a choice, and why don't you give Jenny a call and just see, she may be able to help you. Who knows? But I don't know what those hooks are. So you can give me some of that education. That would be helpful to me.
I mean, I would say the biggest things that I think a lot of people that are not doing a transaction for, but are just kind of needing assistance from Jenny would be if, let's say, someone bought a property and they want to bring their spouse onto the property, kind of like the process of incorporating title into that, what the difference is from other states that don't have title. Like some states are attorney states. I mean, we're a title and escrow state right here. So kind of walking through kind of what hyper focus on California of the differences in the different communities and what you do compared to, other communities. I know in like Mexico, you have to pay an attorney to actually do all the legwork to see if any liens are on the property. But that's what you guys do with the prelim. So
Right. Yeah, so like they don't have title insurance. Stewart actually was the last like title insurance company in Mexico, but I think because the land is so far back, we weren't there. But
well, didn't the issue happen like 5 years ago or something like that with all those like false title reports or something like that? There's a big issue that I think happened like 5 years ago down in Mexico.
I'll have to look that up. 5 years ago is right when I got in the business. So
okay. Yeah, I remember maybe it was longer than that, but I know there's some legal stuff with some people I knew down there.
Okay, so differences from attorney states. And did you say the differences in how to hold title? Is that what you?
Yeah, I mean, people sometimes have questions about how to carry title if they bought the property themselves. Now they're looking to bring someone else onto the loan. They got married and things like that.
Yeah, I can definitely go over different ways to vest the property. Yeah.
Just the process of what you do.
You're really
low.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. I was saying, what about the process that that your team does so that the consumer will actually understand those steps? But, like what phases do you go through, or is it just like, one phase and that's it? And just walking through what that is, and then like Vinny said, how do I add my spouse? Do I not add my spouse? Maybe if I'm buying it in my name, but I want to add my spouse afterwards, how does that work? Those kind of things.
Buying in a trust versus buying individually too.
Right.
And then transferring.
Yeah, I'll have a lot of information on vesting, and I'll include the trusts, LLCs, joint tenancy, tenants in common, all of that.
Perfect. I think that's it, right? Everyone good?
Yeah.
All right, let's finish it off saying your ideal referral. Garrison, you want to start us going?
Sure. So an ideal referral for me would be the restaurant owner that I could assist with printing the one-time use menus that they're talking about. Maybe some signs for the front door that say, mask must be worn, things of that nature. So who is that restaurateur or retail establishment that's wanting to open up and has some guidelines and maybe needs a quick turnaround on some flyers or some signs or some, one-time use menus for all the people coming in that I could help with and turn very quickly.
Any business owner who has questions about their lease, about employees, keeping them on, furloughing employees, anything like that. So any business owner.
Anyone Oh,
Sorry, Jane. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Anyone selling their home, anyone refinancing their home, those would be great.
For me, it would be any business owner that is looking to increase their revenue stream or pivot in this kind of economic crisis. I also have tools that are available as well to help them start utilizing, more of technology, especially during this time frame. So those would be the primary people to work with.
I'm looking for people who really want to help people in situations that we're seeing right now. So whether it's investors who have money that want to see that grow and help people stay in their homes, or others who want to learn a different way of real estate investing that looks like it might be coming around the corner. And a real quick plug, I'm going to be doing a webinar tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock a.m. your time. And if you go to my website and click the button to go to my Facebook page and just like that, it'll be live through there. That's Note peer-to-peer.
And I'm looking for individuals that are looking to move up. I mean, the values are still there right now on the sale side. And the properties, if you're going above 700, the values have kind of dipped in pricing a little bit. It's a great time if you're under that 700 sales price right now and looking to make a jump above that 700 sales price to look at the market. Also, more focused on Thursday, we're doing a nonprofit event, 10 to 3 o'clock. So if you know any artists, singers, comedians, anything like that, please get them in contact with me before Thursday. We're going to put this event on through this platform for 10 to 3.
Anything specific you're looking for? I mean, can it be any kind of comedy, any kind of artist?
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple of comedians, singers, some professional, some not so professional. They'll be on it. We're having fun. It's basically to give back to a shelter in Hillcrest. And so it's basically a 10 to 3 event. We're going to have the events going on, and then also ways to donate to that community.
Cool.
So if anyone has interest, please reach out to myself. Thanks, everyone. To next week.
Hey, guys.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye. Have a great day, all.